Alright, hello and welcome to another video about Houdini's Heightfields. And in this video we'll be taking a look at the draw mask node, the paint mask node, and what masks are in Houdini's Heightfields. So as you can see in front here, let's actually move to this, you see a normal Heightfield. This normal Heightfield with a couple of red dots drawn onto them. And these red dots are what we call masks in Houdini. And what these are is these are ways of masking out an area. So let's say I want to only have noise in these parts and I don't have masks. That would be very hard. I'd have to manipulate the noise in such a way that it would only do it here, and I'd have to do a bunch of other things. And basically masks make sure that your life is a lot easier if you want a certain thing to happen in a certain place. So yes, this is the first thing. This is the draw mask node, and what it allows you to do is if you press enter with your mouse on your viewport, you'll be able to use the draw mask tool. So what it does is, well, you literally draw a shape. And this shape can be anything that you want. Usually it would be a selection, but it can be anything. So here I kind of created this weird looking shape. But let's say we maybe want to have our initials in this terrain. We can also very easily do that by just simply writing it down. Now note that my mouse manipulation skills aren't great, so it is not going to be looking great, but it gets the point across of that this simple tool can already give you a lot of power over what you want to do. And how do we use this mask? Well, let's maybe say that we don't like how large this is or how thin these masks are. In that case, we can use the Heightfield mask expand node. So if you click this, you can see that the mask has become larger, and I'm going to press escape, by the way, to make sure that I'm not in the edit menu anymore. So as you can see in this draw mask, I now can't draw lines anymore. And if we compare this mask and the expanded mask, you can see that it's a bit larger. So this is one of the ways that you can manipulate masks. And the way we can use this mask now is by just simply applying a noise over it. So as you can see, now let me turn off the grid, which you can do with the top button. So as you can see, I just applied a noise only over the masked areas. And how do we do this? Well, it's pretty easy. You just use the second input. So if we put down a noise, a Heightfield noise, the first input is going to be your terrain, which it says in the little text here on the bottom right. So here in the network editor, if I hover over the input, you can see terrain. The second input takes care of the mask. So does that mean you can have the initial Heightfield be empty? Yes, that can be something you would want. So here we input a Heightfield that is completely empty, and here we have our masks that are expanded. If we take the wire from this expanded mask and we put it in the mask input, you can see that it still does its job. Only now it doesn't have these mask areas already masked out, which in this case we do, because we directly took the masked Heightfield and applied the noise over it. In this case, we just take the base Heightfield and apply the noise over it. Now the second node, or the third node, would be the Heightfield paint. Now this Heightfield paint is the same as the draw, only this time when you press enter, you will get a little painting widget. So with this you can just paint as you want. It still kind of draws lines, but it's a bit more, you can add blur to it, you can manipulate your brush a bit, and if you have a tablet, it allows you to also have pen pressure. So I can up the radius, and I can do that in here by dragging the slider up, but what you can also do is hold shift and right click and drag your mouse to the left and the right, and this will also scale the size of your brush up and down. So that's basically the paint mask, the Heightfield paint. And if we press escape in our viewport, with our mouse in the viewport, you can see this widget disappear and we're going back to the normal editing mode. But let's say we have this mask, but we think it's too large. We want to kind of shrink it a bit. Well, Houdini has you covered with a Heightfield mask shrink. And if we display this, it doesn't do a lot right now. So let's actually Control Z a bunch to kind of remove a lot of these clutter lines. There we go, this should be fine. So if we shrink this, you can see that it just shrank a bit. And in this node we can up the radius, and it'll basically influence how much this is shrunk. And the same goes for the mask expand actually. If we want this to be expanded more, we can just up the radius and it'll do just that. Now something to take note of is that eventually it'll start looking very boxy, because you're using pixels in essence to expand it, and eventually it'll start to look very square and the shapes won't be preserved very well. But yeah, the result from this mask shrink or the Heightfield mask paint can be used just the same by inputting it into a noise. And as you can see here, yeah, the noise only got applied over the areas we painted in. And something useful about the paint node is that it actually has these blurred edges. So with the draw mask, you get very hard edges because, well, you're just drawing them with a pencil, you could say. And with the paint, you get these very nice soft edges that allow you to have a bit more of a gradual transition instead of just a hard transition. Now in the next video, we'll be going over the mask by feature node and a bit on the terrace node, and even a bonus part, the blur. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.